Now, the AI augmentation here is an ability for AI to quickly read through the issue logs, look at what's happened in the past, look at the past trends, and come to the SRE with certain incident resolution steps. So this going from that as-is process to the to-be process is something that AI could help with.
GTMAI podcast with Jonathan Moss and Coach K. Tune in now, don't delay. Catch the future on display. In a world of
To another episode of the Go-to-Market AI podcast. And man, do we have a good one for you today. So our theme of the day is from going from tools to transformational ROI, utilizing AI and go-to-market. So this is a very big topic for us because all the time there's conversations and people don't really understand how to translate the value of AI into business impact or into go-to-market impact. And I have got an amazing guest today that's going to help us navigate that challenge. Anurag, thanks for joining the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jonathan. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity and excited about this podcast with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me tell everyone a little bit about Anurag, and then I'll let you anything. Anurag Goel is a seasoned go-to-market and strategy leader with a deep background in enterprise sales, value engineering, and AI transformation. So that is a 1, 2, 3 triple threat punch of how to get ROI out of AI. So he is an expert. And so I'm glad that he's here with us today. So he's out of San Francisco. He really works at the intersection of business value, technology, innovation, and he's held roles at some of the most respected tech companies. So again, adding to his credibility, Salesforce, Adobe, now Red Hat. So really great names that have not only are in the intersection of technology and advancements of AI, because all those companies have that, but then also at the enterprise level and at a scaled level that's usually different than others. At Red Hat, he's been instrumental in shaping how sales teams and customers align around business outcomes rather than technical specs to help them supersize their deals, 3x, amplify NRR. So again, already thinking about how to translate value for people into business impact. His main focus is on value selling, executive engagement, and really helping organizations understand how to have a ROI centered around AI. He's had many conversations with CXOs on AI adoption, going through from hype and hard truth. So again, he's a battle-tested practitioner with field, being able to bring practical use cases with that field-tested lens. So not is he just thinking about things from a theoretical, strategical level at the top, but he's also able to take that and translate that all the way down to implementation and practical use cases. So again, making him such an amazing guest to have for our topic today on how to generate ROI with AI. So again, anything I missed there, Anurag, for the audience, you've got amazing background. So again, I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm just fortunate to be really at the center of gravity, so to speak, the last 18, 20 months, renewed interest in the Valley, in Silicon Valley, where we're seeing so much of innovation, as has been the hallmark of this geolocation. So I'm just fortunate to be here and talking to AI founders, experts, as this topic evolves. And I'm trying to correlate that fast pace of innovation with what's happening with ROI, and hence combining ROI of AI adds to the excitement of being able to share that with you today.
Yeah, excited. This is, again, a big topic for our listeners and everyone that we chat with all the time. It's really about how do I translate ROI? And it's a lot of times less about, there are some cost savings and things, but people just think that's the only approach to that, and it's really not. And so let's unpack that. So let's start with, where does the AI discussion begin? So it really doesn't begin with tools. It begins with the problem. And I think that's important because the first question a lot of people ask are, what AI tools should I use? But you've spoken to a ton of CXOs that are navigating this AI landscape. So before you open your wallet, before you sign up for a trial, before you go try to figure out what tool do you need, like, how should you actually be thinking about the AI journey?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jonathan. I've spoken to enough CXOs at this point and also experienced it myself, trying to dabble into AI for the use of my function at Red Hat. And I think the common denominator with successful stories is not jumping to AI as the solution. AI may or may not be able to help. It really depends on what is the fit. And when I say fit, let's unpack, take a step back. What is the actual business problem you're trying to solve? Because AI is one of the potential solutions, right? There could be other factors that govern your ability to solve that problem or not. It may just be something left field. It could be a people topic, right? It could be something that AI is just not capable of solving. So let's not try and fix AI on everything and every problem out there. So that's been a starting point of conversations always is let's jump to AI where I'm consulting executives on take a step back first and let's figure out details of the business problem you're trying to solve for. And now the business problem, when you go levels deeper, there is a symptom and a root cause. So let's get to the root cause of the business problem, and that'll help solution it. Now, there may be AI use cases that we create, and we can come to that in a bit, but that's the starting point always is to look at the business problem to be solved.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And one of the things that you mentioned, and we were actually talking about before the show started, was everything seems to be about AI today. Again, I think what's becoming a challenge is to navigate that because not every solution needs AI. It can be solved through automation or it can be solved through a people and a process, right? And so if you take that step back, what you just talked about was really identifying the problem that you're solving. Okay, so let's now unpack that a little bit further. So now that you've identified the problem, what are some things that you should do around how do I start? And maybe you can either give a real example or a hypothetical one, whatever you want to do in regards to what is that process now? So I've identified a problem. How am I evaluating if I need AI or don't need AI? How am I evaluating KPIs and outcomes, things that I should be thinking about to help me start building that narrative and that business case, et cetera, to generate some ROI?
Yeah. So following up on step one is identifying your problem statement. Now, step two is trying to find a solution for it, which if AI comes out as one of the solution areas, right? So often, again, people will jump to let's run a POC, let's pilot this, right? Without a very important step before you go there, which is as you're identifying those pilot opportunities, you have use cases defined. If you're not able to identify specific objectives and success measures, OKRs on how you would measure success of those pilots, research tells us BCG actually has a study out there which says 68% of AI pilots will fail to scale if you do not have clear objectives associated with them. So I think that's a key step two, in my opinion, is you've identified the problem. You've now got a use case, right? AI use case, which seems to be able to solve the problem, but you got to have clear KPIs for any performance improvements, cost outcomes, and I can share specific examples of these as we keep chatting more. But I think that's step two is to have that clear identification of what does success look like here.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. And so for those that are listening specifically around, I'll share the go-to-market perspective. And then if you want to walk us through a successful POC or failed one, if it's specific to go-to-market, great. Or even if it's not, I think that's okay as well. But ultimately, when you think about this from the go-to-market perspective, right, we have so many KPIs that we look at already, right? If you think about if you've truly mapped your bow tie, if you will, if you're a revenue architecture, if you're your funnel from end to end or your customer journey, there's always volume metrics, there's conversion metrics, there's time metrics, there's all these things. So we have no short of KPIs that we're already looking at. And then to be able to connect that, you should have a process map that you've mapped out from end to end. So what does that journey look like? Where are the human manual interventions? Where do I use technology? What technology do I use? And ultimately then understand what is the job to be done? What is the job that you want to be done at each part of the journey or the process? Once you've identified those, it should be rather easy for you to be able to connect the dots between if I leverage AI or automation or something here, what do I think or can I get the impact of? Is there Can I shorten the sales cycle? Can I shorten the time between that touch point and the next touch point? Can I improve my conversion rate of that point from one touch point to the next? Or is it truly something that I can get more volume somewhere? And so you're going through this. So once you figure that out, then it's just a simple math exercise. There's calculators and things out there that we can obviously share, but then it's really a math exercise to be able to say, okay, if I were to do that, what is my cost associated with the AI? And then what is my return that I can get for that improvement if all else holds true along the rest of the journey? So this is definitely something that if you take the time and think through, especially in the go-to-market perspective, we have a ton of metrics. It's almost one of the easier places because you've already got a ton of metrics that you're looking at and KPIs and things like that. And so, yeah, so I think if you think about it that way, I would love your perspective on thinking about how to start with a POC. What does that success look like from developing kind of those measurable KPIs and things of that nature for getting started?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you picked a fantastic example, Jonathan. The jobs to be done approach. I think it's a great start. And I can augment what you said from a go-to-market perspective also towards, let's take customer service, customer success, customer service, extremely important as you look at NRR, success KPI. So Red Hat was working with a leading energy systems provider out of Europe about a few weeks ago. And we had somebody as our champion at this account who was evaluating different AI technologies. And now this person had a specific challenge. So one of the strategic objectives of this organization was to enhance customer service using digital channels. And when you go under the hood on that, they had some applications that were customer service applications where you get, let's say, an energy outage. So you're able to go to that application, you're figuring out what's going on, and you know when it's going to be resolved. What happens if that application itself breaks down, right? If there's issues, if there is an incident that is caused and that application itself is not working, there is a direct impact on customer satisfaction, potential revenue loss for that organization. So they were trying to solve for that job to be done is to have that dispute, those incidents to be resolved as soon as they could. Now, they looked at different ways to solve that business problem, and AI came up as an option because they had SRE teams who were trained to resolve these issues. But it used to take them a significant amount of time because they had to go through certain process steps around. They had to first identify troubleshooting steps, and then they had to go read different manuals and event logs, and there was a whole host of interdependencies before they could identify what's caused that incident and then resolve it manually. Now, the AI augmentation here is an ability for AI to quickly read through the issue logs, look at what's happened in the past, look at the past trends, and come to the SRE with certain incident resolution steps. So this, going from that as-is process to the to-be process, is something that AI could help with. Again, the champion got it, right? But what was missing is as they were looking at running a pilot on this, they did not have success KPIs defined. So my team was able to help them go deeper and look at the KPIs that they could use to measure success of the pilot. So we went in and identified KPIs like, okay, incident resolution time seems to be something that's something you could track because there is an underlying KPI around the time it takes you to identify the root cause and then find a resolution for it. As you go deeper, that incident resolution time also has a dollar impact because you're losing revenue as an organization the longer it takes for you to bring that application back up. So we were able to go through this exercise and just giving you one example. And as we did that, we identified, okay, there's like $1 million worth of dollar value that just this scope can bring to them. So the beauty was we did this before the POC went live, and then we tracked it through the POC being active. End of the day, we found the $1 million was actually like 5-10% more than the $1 million. So we exceeded expectations on the value delivery of the POC. And that did a couple of things. So it increased confidence with the champion that, hey, this works. But then the champion was able to take that internal case study, because now it became a proof of value, to the economic buyer who has the budget. And again, if you look at AI sales cycles, this is where it breaks down, is you're not able to progress those deals to a closed win for you, and it stops at the POC itself, right? Key reason is you're not able to progress this to the economic buyer who's got the budget. So those were some examples that came out of the exercise, and there's plenty more to share.
Yeah, no, and I think I loved your path, because I think if you break this down into a couple of things that I love to hit. So one is ensuring that you understand the people and the process involved in what's the job to be done, or what are you trying to solve. Then understand the data behind it. So what is it that, as you're thinking about your KPIs, what are you trying to measure, and what is the problem or the job to be done that you're solving? How does that impact the KPIs? And is there value creation from that? Because ultimately, a lot of times I see people that are trying to use AI to accelerate something. Like you see it all the time with like top of funnel, the AI SDRs and things, but ultimately there's so much what I call drag inside of an organization that's holding people back from creating value from something that's already there. And that's a great example of a drag that can be held back, because someone's got to go through, check logs, figure things out, do all this stuff. And now you're eliminating that drag, which is allowing for value to be created on the other side of that once you've eliminated that. So I think this is super important for people to understand where to focus their time and effort. I think the second thing that you said is very important, which is you gave the stat 68%. So there's another stat out there from IDC. It talks about 88% of AI pilots, so let's call those as part of that POC section, fail to make it further to production, which is interesting. One, it could be from the lack of setting up the POC correctly or pilot correctly with the right measurable KPIs. The other one is what you mentioned, which is, if I do that, like, how do I put that together to actually go to who has the budget to sign off on this? And that's just as important as measuring figuring out what the right success of the KPIs are. So tell me a little bit about, and then we'll switch to the new topic. So once you've got a POC, once you've got the proof of value, are you looking at, a lot of people say, should I build something? Should I buy it? How does that fit in with my stack? I'm going through the whole evaluation of, do I get a tool? What are some things that you all have learned? Are there common things that you go through to this evaluation? Because obviously you're a scaled tech company. So I think it's interesting because to see, do you build things? Do you buy things? What's your point of that as far as increasing your tech stack from either side of that, as far as these AI initiatives go?
Yeah, so it's a classic build versus buy problem, which goes back to the days of ERP, similar conversations when cloud came around, right? Now we are talking about it even from the AI context. I think it really depends on what's your core competence. If you as an organization think that your core competence is, let's take the case of this energy operator again. For them, their core competence is to make sure they're providing the energy services to the customers, and they have the infrastructure around it to be able to deliver that optimal customer service. That's their core competence. Now, could they staff a team of AI experts and create a resolution path for this problem that they're facing with their SREs? Maybe yes. But could they also look at buying something off the shelf, which gives them a faster path to value and helps them avoid the risk of getting into an unknown territory? There's a lot going on these days around the skills aspect also with AI skills. So again, their core competence is not developing AI applications. So there's a lot of that, the pros and con analysis to be done in those situations, Jonathan, is if you are actually a company who's open to investing and you see the reward potential with building it yourself, then by all means, right, go for it. But I try and again keep things simple from the concept of core competence and use that as a barometer on evaluating that question.
Love that. Love that. Okay, let's dig into the next big shift that's happening, which is AI is fundamentally, if I speak today, changing the way we approach to value selling. And that is one of your core expertise, something that you've done a lot. And you've seen this firsthand at Red Hat, leading that function with even some of the larger enterprise and tech companies like Google, ServiceNow. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing. What's happening? How is AI fundamentally shifting this approach from your perspective?
Yeah, I'd say it's two parts to it. One is an efficiency perspective. The other is an effectiveness perspective. And what I mean by that is fundamentals of value selling have not changed at all. It's still very much, let's not lead with the product. Let's rather lead to the solution. Let's start again with business problem. Right? You'll keep hearing me talk about the business problem. It's just a way in which my head is wired, which is what value selling is about.
We need it though, because what is it? You got to hear something like 7, 8, maybe more times. And it seems like we haven't got it yet, because still people I talk to today are not starting with the problem. Sorry, but that's that. Keep saying it. If you want to say it another 8 or 9 times, that's okay.
Thank you. So again, that's the fundamentals of value selling is put your customer first, understand their problems, what are they trying to achieve strategically, and then position your technology against that. Now, what I'm seeing with a lot of AI founders is that they are so passionate about what they have built, particularly with their companies, they jump to the shiny object. Look at the features that my technology has. It's so cool. Guess what? Executive buyers don't care. What they want to hear from you again is, do you know the business problem that I'm faced with? And then have you done the analysis that we spoke about in part 1, which is, have you looked at my processes? Have you identified gaps that AI can actually fix for me and deliver tangible ROI? So if you have not done that, they could care less about the bells and whistles. So the way efficiency comes in, again, using AI to make this conversation easier, faster, is through different steps of that cycle. And I can go into details about it, right from account research to creating a hypothesis, business case. There's different aspects that come out from an efficiency perspective, which actually give you back time as a rep to have a deeper, more effective value conversation. So there's time savings that you get back from using AI to do the value selling faster, but then you're also able to do it better with the help of AI because you get the time back to actually have a real customer conversation focused on value. And then some of the augmentation from AI delivers better products for you to use with your customer in that conversation.
Makes a ton of sense. And I love how you combined effectiveness and efficiency. And it reminded me, because I use this analogy a lot, when someone talks about efficiency and they just leave it in the terms of efficiency and nothing else. I was like, you can be really efficient at losing. I can lose 10 games in a row at whatever, football, baseball, cards, whatever it is. I'm super efficient, 10 out of 10. That's very efficient. But it's not I didn't get the outcome that I wanted because I wasn't effective in that efficiency. And so those two combined are very critical and important. And the other thing that you mentioned before we step into those use cases, what you're seeing is the whole like AI shiny object approach. And you see this too much, that people are talking about the AI capabilities and features. And there's actually a study done by Kyle Poyer posted it. I forget who did it, but ultimately it actually showed that listing AI and all this stuff, it actually reduced the trust. It reduced the outcome of selling, et cetera, because I think people are just so inundated with AI this, AI that, AI powered this, AI this. And that's great. But to your point, I really don't care. What problem is it solving for me? Because I have problems today that I need solved. And so how does this solve it? And if it's AI that helps me solve it, great. If it's not AI, going back to the original point, that helps me solve it, that's fine too, as long as I get my problem solved. So I think those are two very important points I wanted to reemphasize that you said, because there's a ton of value there. So tell me a little bit about what are some of the AI use cases that are underrated to move deals forward. You mentioned some things like hypothesis and other things, because I think this is 100% flying under the radar and is completely underrated right now because, and again, it's so funny. I have these conversations. Just like getting asked about AI tools, I get asked a lot about what can help me drive top of funnel volume. And I said, and my response is, before we get in top of funnel volume, are you converting everything that you have today? And are you happy with those conversions? Because that's an easier thing to solve than trying to just go drive more and more volume at top. It's, hey, you've got deals already. How are they progressing? Are they progressing fast enough? Are they converting high enough to the next stage? So tell me a little bit about some of the kind of use cases or things you've seen that are really with AI that are really helping and value selling that are really helping drive deals forward from stage to stage or touch point to touch point.
Absolutely. Love that example, Jonathan, about it's not just adding top of the funnel, but it's also how do you take pipeline that may or may not be qualified, how do you qualify it and then move it through the sales cycle towards closure? I think that's in my personal opinion, that's a richer effectiveness of AI conversation to be had. So I can share some examples on that front because there's ample out there that my team has been doing ourselves and practical examples of that. So let's say account research. There's a lot of AI augmentation there that I'm seeing for contextual insights to be created. And this again goes back to my favorite word, which is identifying business problems and opportunities to have that contextual conversation with your customer. So imagine the benefits of AI, and this is something that almost everybody is using today. So it's not rocket science, but you do not physically have to go read company financials and their 10Ks and annual reports anymore, right? AI is able to do that in a matter of minutes for you. So there is no excuse as a rep for you to go uninformed into a customer conversation. That's like table stakes at this point. So account research, definitely, you could see that manifest into account planning also, where when you start account planning, you're able to think bigger. You're able to look at multi-year account strategies where you see opportunities because you know the customer much better now, as opposed to weeks, months, or years past, where it was harder, that still required the manual effort to know about their business. That step has definitely been accelerated. Now, what do you do with that customer information? So what I'm seeing resonating well is this concept of a hypothesis-led discovery. So you use the customer information that you have. There's plenty of data and benchmarks around. You could start creating your own point of view. Okay, we see this opportunity, we see this business problem that you have, and we are able to help you with success KPIs that can create some dollar value for you. Now that dollar value is our hypothesis, and we'd like to work with you, discover and gather your data, right? And that step in value selling used to be an issue in the past because it was hard to get customer data, and that's where things would break down. But again, thanks to AI, there's plenty of benchmarks and data that AI is bringing to a value engineer to use to build that hypothesis in quick time and again, accelerate the path towards that richer customer conversation as you do discovery and make it your business case to a co-owned business case because the customer now starts to create that together with you. And then the last piece I'll talk about is you have this mature opportunity now, but it's not still ready for close. So how do you embrace qualification methodologies like MEDPIC, and there's others out there, again, augment that with AI, because we've done that at Red Hat. And in a small sample that we have employed MEDPIC using AI, we have seen win rates increase by 30, 40% on these deals. So that's significant. Going back to your point about you do a lot of work top of funnel to build the pipeline, but if that pipeline disappears or it does not close, that's a lot of cost of sales that you're putting out there, which is not yielding the results. So MEDPIC, again, is value focused and using AI to augment that with real-time coaching by sales managers, right? A lot of that is something that I'm seeing AI augment and make it more effective.
Man, that's amazing results. So kudos first, but that's amazing. And the key here is how you all are approaching it, and to the point that you mentioned something that stuck out to me in the very beginning of this. I'll reemphasize, which was there is no longer an excuse to go uninformed, and there's no longer an excuse to not have information and be able to have an intelligent and very meaningful conversation, because AI is helping you do that. And I can understand previously, because if you look at the statistics and things that are out there, right, it's 70% of sellers' time is not in front of a customer, which is insane to me, because it's like you hire this high quality person whose job is to close revenue for you, and you're paying them to do, but yet only 30% of their time is in front of customers, and the rest of their time is other things. So whether it's research or meetings or Salesforce admin or HubSpot admin, whatever CRM you use. And so now being able to basically put these tools and capabilities inside of their workflow or part of their augmentation or assisting them is so impactful. And honestly, if I'm a seller today, I'm like beating down the door. I'm only going to a company that is helping me do this because I know the value of it and I know the results. And you just actually share some amazing results that you're seeing specifically by doing this. And so I think one of the biggest challenges, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, and we can finish on this, but one of the perspectives that I see a lot is sellers have a hard time adopting tools or adopting new things, right? They've been doing it for a while, or they just don't feel like that they have time, even though 70% of their time is not in front of customers. So I would be, if I'm a seller, I'm eating this stuff up all day. Keep giving me all the things that's going to help me close deals that I can do less work, specifically on like research and all the admin stuff. I'm here all day. But it seems that a lot of times there's a miss either on enablement or change management or communicating the why or whatever it is. So how have you been able to get the teams within Red Hat or clients or others to really be able to get their teams to use AI tools and capabilities through their sales process? Just tell us a little bit about some best practices or things that you see that have been effective.
Yeah, you touched upon this a little bit. I think it has to start with the why. What's in it for them? Why is this a tool? But a tool, again, there's a business problem for it. There's a solution for it, right? So how does it help them make things better? What's the potential revenue, cost, risk, strategic importance, right? There's different parameters to quantify that and make that why super clear. But then also it has to be ingrained into your workflow of sorts. So going back to the example of account research, one of the reasons why I think it's working, it's sticky, adoption is higher on that situation is every rep in some capacity has understood the need for account research. It's part of their workflow. Now, if AI is coming in and the value prop immediately is we'll shorten the time it takes for you to do the research, you get it picked up right there. So it has to be, again, part of your workflow. We were talking about the process earlier, right? So it's part of the process. It's just a step that was broken a little bit, and now AI is helping augment that, and it's immediate reward, it's immediate value right there. So I think the immediacy of value also is there, something to be said when working with the go-to-market teams, right? Not expecting them to see the rewards an year later. Rather, we're all used to seeing more immediate success. So the tooling that is able to provide you that value back is also important. So I think it's a combination of setting up the why, the change management behind it, the reinforcement from a skills perspective. I often talk about even value tools will remain a tool unless there is the reinforcement from a process perspective, from a skills perspective. You could own a Ferrari, but if you don't know how to drive it, what's the point?
Right.
So those are some aspects that I think combine to make these investments really, again, yield ROI, because that's the point of any technology, is to give you ROI.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. And I'll just reemphasize what you said, embed in their workflow, give them the why, make sure there's immediacy and value, which is why it's important to understand, as we go full circle, what is the job to be done? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? The business problem, start with that. And then how do you translate that? And what is the value created from that, either from the user themselves, so in this case, the salesperson, or from the customer? Whatever it is, again, what is the outcome that you're looking for that to solve that problem? Man, this has been so amazing, so jam-packed full of value. One of the biggest topics, which is how can I really get ROI and drive ROI for my AI? And then also, how can I use it better to close more deals or generate more revenue? So again, Anurag, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. I appreciate everything that you're doing in the space and really bringing this to the listeners. It's been a great episode. Thank you all for listening. Again, have a great day. And again, thanks, Anurag, for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the GTM AI podcast. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and come back for more.